Further, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources has, through the agency of the Forestry Commission, with the assistance of the military, made the effort to cordon off all 294 sites of forest reserves in the country and rid them of illegal mining as we speak.
So this was the president in January this year. And the last part of that statement you just heard from him, that the 294 forest reserves or sites that we have in this country, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and the military have made efforts to cordon off these forest reserves to ward off any form of illegal mining or illegal miners. So we went to some of these forest reserves to check. I'm going to show you some of the pictures we received, actually, from some people who live there, and then some environmental NGOs who actually work in these forest reserves as well, and some independent checks that we made in some of the forest reserves across the country. But even before that, 2 days ago, the Forestry Commission CEO, and bear in mind, the Forestry Commission is the state institution that is supposed to, in fact, charged with the responsibility of protecting our forest cover from illegal miners and from also persons who are felling trees illegally. Remember, this rosewood matter is an issue we'll get into as we go on in the coming weeks. But the Forestry Commission CEO says that, look, the illegal miners in some of the forest reserves, they are empowered, they are resourced, even more than the Forestry Commission's task force. And so the Forestry Commission is basically helpless. They can't do anything in those forest reserves. You take a listen to him.
That one, the red. The red is an area where we have active illegal mining activity happening. And these are areas where the Forestry Commission is finding it very difficult to deal with the illegal operators. They are in large numbers. They have large number of machines, and they've recruited armed security. So whilst you have a team working in the night, you have another set of team carrying arms most of the time, AK-47, and guarding those who are working. And I would like to also explain that most of these weapons that they are carrying are not the weapons that the Forestry Commission can contest with. They are carrying AK-47 that can travel about 3 kilometers. Whilst the weapons we are having, the semi-automatic, can only go about 300 meters. So what it means is that to be able to fight these guys, you have to get closer to them, at least within 300 meters, to be able to deal with them. Meanwhile, from 3 kilometers away, they can shoot you. And we can give you the statistics of the number of our workers who have been attacked due to the sophistication and then better power and capacity of the illegal operators in this area. Out of the 16 regions have been experiencing some form of illegal mining.
That's it. You've heard it for yourself. It says that the illegal miners, they are resourced. They have AK-47 that can shoot 3 kilometers. And the Forestry Commission staff, the task force in these forest reserves, they use guns that can shoot just 300 meters. Guess what? So essentially what he's saying, that's the Forestry Commission CEO. They are helpless in dealing with this in some of these forest reserves. So somebody has to be updating the president, because that earlier clip that I played to you, that assurance that is giving to all of us that all 290 sites identified as forest reserves are being protected. This statement by the Forestry Commission CEO raises doubts about that, and the president should be updated on it. And I'll tell you why. It gets very worrying, at least with what we have received. These pictures are pictures from the Etiwa forest. We got this a few days ago, okay? And I'm going to project it on the screen right now. And this is one of the most important forest reserves, not only in Ghana, but on the continent, because of the resource in there, in this Itiwa forest, talking about trees, species, and animals, birds that you can't find anywhere in the world. They are here. The white monkey you can't find on the continent is in the Itiwa forest. But look at what's happening. So we got another one too. This is it, right? So somebody has to be updating the president on what's going on, especially because of the statement that he made in January, which I just played to you. And then the admission by the Forestry Commission boss that the task force of the Forestry Commission is not resourced enough for them to do a good job when it comes to fighting these Galamsey operators in our forest reserves. So take that. If we're serious about this, beyond this particular case of what we learned in the Tiwa forest, we've secured exclusively some satellite images of some of the forest reserves in 2017 and also what exists in now, at least in the latter part of 2020 and then the first quarter of 2023. Let me start off with the Apaprama Forest Reserve. And there's a reason why. This Apaprama Forest Reserve is captured in the Prosecutor report, where Imperial Heritage, one of the companies that at the time we had the lawyer mentioned in there, in this case as Gabia Sarachudakon, and the questions that Prosecutor raised. This is the Apaprama Forest in December 2017. This is the satellite image. See how green it is? Where it has been circled, or the mapped area, beg your pardon, the mapped area is the Apaprama Forest. Take note of how green it is. All right? And then look at this. In 2018, you see the patches there? That's the illegal mining. Started 2018. I remember in 2018 there was a ban on a ban on all forms of mining, correct, in this country to deal with illegal mining. Take a look at the patches you see. And this was 2017. Look at that difference. Stay with me. Let's go to 2019. Look at 2019. Look at now what's happening to the mapped area. You see the degradation, the destruction to the forest cover there. This is the Apaprama forest. Then 2021, look at that. Look at how the mapped up area has been destroyed. And this is illegal mining. That's destroyed this forest cover, this mapped area. This is the satellite image of the Apaprama forest. This was the 4th of January, 2021. And as if that's not enough, look at 5th January, 2022. This is how the Apaprama forest looks like in this satellite image, the mapped area. You see how green it was in 2017? December? Take a look at what's happening on the 5th of January, 2022. The destruction, which is caused by illegal mining. 6th December is the same as we've seen, right? So look at the state now in 2022 December and then compare it to what I started with in 1st December 2017. This is evidence of what is being done. Enough of the words and the rhetoric. To get serious with what is happening to our forest reserve. Stay with me. Up next, after this quick break, we get into the special prosecutor's invitation to Professor Kwabena Frimpong, which he has accepted to also cooperate in that investigation. We have two prominent persons joining us, together with an environmentalist, to talk about this matter. But much more worrying is right after this as well, we'll show you very disturbing videos of illegal mining taking place exclusively. A documentary that was put together by the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, chaired by Professor Konafe Boateng, during the tenure or the period of their work. It highlights the work of the committee and shows in some stark detail their struggles on the ground and the level of devastation that has been dealt on some of these forest reserves that we're talking about tonight. Take a look. Documentary put together by the committee, which was formed at the instance of cabinet, is aware of this. We want to know what actions have been taken as well to address some of the concerns that were raised in this documentary. The level of devastation that has been dealt on this Diaso Forest Reserve. It's just one of many forest reserves that have been the subject of illegal mining in this country. Dr. Äírmed Abraham is an environmental and climate change expert. He's going to be connecting with us on Zoom shortly, the University of Professional Studies in Accra. Also, later in the bit, we'll have Awula Sewa and then also Mary Ada joining the conversation on this. But let me start off with you, Doc. We're focused on how illegal mining is impacting on forest cover and then also our water bodies. But what are the other areas that illegal mining is affecting our lives that we may not be aware of?
All right, thank you very much. And good evening to our cherished viewers. Our forest constitutes a major resource for every nation. And our forest is a natural resource. One important contribution of forest to the world is the contribution in terms of climate change. Forests plays a very important role when it comes to the regulation of climate in every region that we find it. And with the presence of forests, then we can be sure that the excess carbon that are released into the atmosphere, there's what we call a sink. So the forest serves as a sink for the carbon that is in the atmosphere. So that if we cut down our trees unregulatedly, then we are worsening the issue of climate change. So it is important that we take that also into consideration. Aside climate change, the forest also plays a very important role when it comes to the microclimate in any particular region. So the climate within the region itself, forest has an important role to play. And so that should be taken into consideration. In addition to that, if you look at a number of water resources we have in this country, the rivers and the streams, we have the watershed or the head of the waters flowing right from the forest. And so when it comes to water conservation, the forest also serves as a repository of water resources, so that when we cut down our trees and destroy our forest, then we are also destroying not only the water that we see, but the repository of water within the soil and then within the ecosystem. Once the forest is gone, then it means the ability of the reserves within the soil to be conserved. We are also taking that out, and that is a serious problem that we have to take into consideration. In addition to that, forest is a place for biodiversity. Bio means life, diversity means different kinds. So the different kinds of plants, different kinds of animals and other organisms, they are all in the forest, and it's a place for them, it's a habitat for them. So once we cut down these trees, over time, we are going to lose major biodiversity in terms of our animals, in terms of our trees and other organisms. So it is important that we also take that into consideration. Aside that, a number of medicinal plants are also obtained from forests. Medicinal plants that are used by pharmaceutical companies. We have a number of them coming from our forest resources. And so as we destroy our forest, we should also take into consideration that we are losing, the repository of plants that are useful when it comes to pharmaceuticals. So it's important that we bear that also in mind. Aside that, the issue of livelihoods. If you look at Ghana, we have a number of regions within forested zones, and you have the people within these regions participate in certain livelihoods that are dependent on the land and on water. And it's in the millions. And so when we destroy our forests, what we are doing is that we are also destroying the livelihoods of all these millions of people in the form of farming, in the form of agro forestry, in the form of forestry itself, in the form of regulated lumber, and many others, in the form of fishing. So once we destroy our forests, all these opportunities are going to be destroyed. And there's a linkage between destruction of forests and urbanization. When we destroy the forests and the people in the hinterland cannot cultivate crops, cannot have their livelihoods from engaging in land, water-based activities, then they would have to stream to the cities to come and look for jobs. They come to the cities, there are no jobs for them. And that contributes directly to the challenges we have with urban sprawl, urbanization. People are in the cities and they cannot find jobs. And then the other repercussions come in terms of all manner of social vices. So we should bear in mind that the challenge with forest destruction is not as simple as we see. It's a complex one, it's a complicated one, because forest is interconnected and related with our lives. Our lives are wound around it, and it is important that we bear that in mind as the unregulated destruction of our forest continues. The other observation we need to also take into consideration is that there is the culture and the heritage aspect of forest. Sometimes you go to certain communities, you see forests, they tell you that this is where our ancestors are buried. This is our heritage. And it is also connected with tourism, where people want to travel and go and see what sort of heritage are these people talking about.
Indeed, and it's an extremely important point, Dr. Äärmed Abraham, that you make, the tourism impact as well, and the cultural heritage in some of these forest reserves, which have been threatened by illegal mining. Very, very important point. Thank you so much. Dr. Äärmed Abraham is an environmentalist, is a lecturer and climate change expert with the University of Professional Studies here in Accra. Now, let's take a bit further on this. What we do know today, at least, is that the Office of Special Prosecutor has also extended an invitation to Professor Kwabena Frimpong-Boateng to aid in investigations into the leaked report that he authored. Now, here's a copy of the press release from Professor Kwabena Frimpong-Boateng. It reads, earlier today, I received a letter from the Office of Special Prosecutor inviting me to assist the office as a person necessary for the investigation into suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses in respect of the activities and expenditure of the dissolved Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. I have formally communicated my willingness to attend the invitation and to support the Office of Special Prosecutor in its investigations. This follows, if you recall, 2 days ago, when the Special Prosecutor gave indication that he was actually looking into this Professor Kwabena Frimpong-Boateng leaked report. Let's go on to Zoom now. Meriada is Programs Manager of Ghana Integrity Initiative. I've also been joined by Awula Sewa. She is the founder of Eco-Conscious Citizens Ghana. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us on Ghana Tonight. Let me start off with you, Mary. So you've seen this particular response from Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, and then also the decision by the OSP to go into this leaked report. You were asking for a public inquiry. What will this OSP inquiry also add on to this public inquiry that you're asking for?
Yeah, thank you very much, Alfred. To start with, we see a report that shows a lot of information, be it personal or experiences from a key person who was involved in the process being part of it. And he has indicated clearly some of the frustrations and some of the hurdles he had to contend with in the execution of his mandate. And so for me, I believe that whatever resources we have as a state, we need to bring them to bear in investigating this issue, to bring it to closure, because we see that a lot of people have been cited. And I remember in the first instance when they talked about the president being involved, the next moment we saw that TV cameras had gone to the president's hometown to go and verify and validate some of the information. And so for me, I think it's not a big call to make. And I'm particularly excited that Shraj has taken this up and is willing and ready to ensure that everybody, the citizens of Ghana, see what it is going to do, and it's advocating for a public hearing. I believe that Shraj has its mandate to fight corruption, constitutionally mandated. The OSP comes in because he is also mandated to fight corruption, corruption-related offenses. So if you read the report, you realize that in some of the instances, he is impugning abuse of power, he is impugning influence peddling, and these fall under the remit of the OSP. And for us, we believe that it will only add value to the work the Shraj is going to be carrying out if the OSP also concentrates on the issues that are within its mandate to then interrogate, to validate or otherwise the claims that have been made by the venerable professor. I am sure that these two institutions coming together to attend to this issue would only validate and confirm for us what we all know or otherwise. And it will also then secure, I believe that you know that citizens currently do not even trust very much the efforts of government or the rhetoric that is being presented to all of us as the commitment of government to fight corruption. And so some of these would then ensure that people begin to understand what's happening and they appreciate and also then begin to trust the institutions that they can do what they have been commissioned to do. It is going to be for our good. And I also know that the institutions can also do some interagency collaboration, which Shraj has already initiated some time back. So most of the anti-corruption institutions signed an MOU on which they can, and they usually would work together to ensure that there is no duplication of functions. And I know of instances where Shraj has let go or another institution in the accountability institutions level have allowed another of its kind to investigate an issue when it's within its remit. So it's for the good of this country. It also shows the independence we say these institutions have. So I believe that is a very good call, and we should see it in action.
But
to believe that we are moving beyond rhetoric to action,
right,
and our institutions are also demonstrating their independence.
Indeed, and you talk about the independence and another issue of trust. I would like, Sewa, let me bring you in here at this point. When we sampled the views of some members of the general public about the Office of Special Prosecutor investigating this, they raised the question of trust because of the appointing authority of the Office of Special Prosecutor and the names that have been mentioned in this particular report. What's your take on this?
Good evening. Thank you very much for having me. What I would say is that whatever inquiry we have, it has to be public. It has to be public.
Okay.
It cannot be behind closed doors. And I strongly believe that once we have a public inquiry, which is open, the individuals are there, the environmental organizations are there, the media, which is very important, is there to cover it, for everybody to see what we'll get to the bottom of this matter. Illegal mining has been going on for a very, very long time. Our rivers are all polluted. There's been a lot of rhetoric, as Sister Mary has said, and we have not seen any serious action taking place. And Professor Frimpong Boateng's report explains everything. Because highly placed people are involved, that is the reason why nothing serious has been done, and Galamsey continues about rivers being polluted. So many solutions have been offered, but we are not seeing any headway. So what we would say is have a public inquiry, and the report has to also be made public so that it doesn't sit on somebody's desk for the next years. If we do this, I'm sorry, Ghana will be doomed. We can have all sorts of gimmicks and jump up and down. We're clamping down on illegal mining. But when highly placed persons are alleged to be involved and we don't want to do anything about it, we heard what mining is purported to have done in the Tano Nimeri Forest Reserve. What action has been taken to date? Have the directors been even invited to the police station so that they can help the police with their investigations? Nothing much has happened. So there doesn't seem to be any seriousness. And what disappoints me,
Yeah, I'm losing you. If you could just rectify that connection, Awula Sewa, really sorry about this. But we'll reconnect with you again because that point you were making was very, very crucial, Awula. Let me stay with Awula. I think that the connection is better now. On to the next issue that you talked about. So we have the Commission on Human Rights, Administrative Justice, SHRAJ, CID, are all looking into this, and then also the Office of Special Prosecutor now. So how would all these investigations by these separate institutions help in establishing the facts beyond the responses by some of these persons who have been captured in the report?
I think it will bring some scrutiny.
Okay. Apologies there. We'll try and rectify this connection with Awula Sewa, who is the coordinator of Eco-Conscious Citizens Ghana, and then also Mary Ada, who is the programs manager of the Ghana Integrity Initiative. This is Ghana Tonight. These are issues that are of serious importance to us, and some of the concerns that have been raised as well. And as you may really be aware, the special prosecutor writing to that's Professor Frimpong Boateng to help, as it were, in investigating the report that he authored, which has been leaked, which we have details of. We apologize for the breaking connection with Awula Sewa and then also Mary Ada. So sorry about this. But ladies, thank you so much for staying with us here on